Okay, thank you, Lucia. Thank you very much for inviting me and for having me here with you online. This is a presentation part of an Erasmus Plus exchange program. I will be visiting University of Bologna next week. I'm very happy and very excited to meet you all. And as a part of this exchange program, we will make two presentations, one online, just like Lucia just mentioned. One will be online today, one will be with you in Ravenna on Tuesday. I have selected two different topics for my presentations, just not to be very boring for you. There will be some common topics, of course. I will be talking about my research topic. So I will introduce myself first. I am Elisavet Chantavaridou. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of West Attica, which is located in Athens. But I live in Thessaloniki, in Saloniko, as you say in Italian. I'm a librarian at the University of Macedonia. I think Lucia just mentioned that. And I have a master's in information and library studies from the University of Strathclyde. Currently, I'm doing my research on the tweets of the EU leaders. Tweets are posts on Twitter. This is a very common topic for the past years since the advent of social media. So I will get started with my presentation. Let me share my screen. Can you see?
Yep, we can see it. Perfect.
Okay, this is a very nice poster that Lucia made for me. Thank you very much, Lucia. It was very
It
nice.
was Bianca. It was Bianca.
Oh, Bianca.
Let's
Okay,
say it.
okay.
It was
Thank
Bianca
you.
Sorbara who did it. So thanks to Bianca. I
Thank
just
you.
only.
Thank you very much. Very nice. And you see the Twitter bird here, which is no longer called Twitter, the platform. It's called X, and it no longer has a logo like this. It has an X mark, which means this might be of interest to PhD researchers in your department, that times change, and because a PhD research might go on for many years, it is difficult when this happens because you have to adapt and change your topic and your processes and your methods. But we will discuss this next week in person, I think. So the topic today is using generative artificial intelligence for processing tweets. I would like to say thank you again to Lucia and Fiametta, who are receiving me to this department. We'll discuss by saying, I will start by saying that the topic of my research is tweets of EU leaders, EU as in European Union leaders. My supervisor is Professor Sarandos Kapidakis, and my research focuses on tweets posted by EU leaders on Twitter or X, which means that these leaders are elected prime ministers and also the President of the Commission and the European Council. Not all of them have Twitter accounts, but most of them have Twitter accounts and they post on Twitter. But this also might change. Since Trump was elected again, you might have heard that many people are leaving Twitter and moving to another platform called Blue Sky, which might be a problem for those researchers who are doing research on Twitter. But then again, we'll discuss when I come to the department how we might adapt to this change. I will start by saying a few things. What is a tweet? You can see the new logo up on the right corner of the X platform. A tweet is a post on X or Twitter. A post might be That includes text, image, video, a GIF, a poll with some questions, or an emoji. X is a microblogging platform, as we might say, somewhere where is a place where a person can write their opinions and their news, and it's also a networking platform because you connect with other people, and even strangers can follow your account and see what you post. There is a limit of characters on every post. It used to be 140 characters. Right now it's 240, 80, sorry. Twitter or X now always has different tiers for different uses, which means that according to your use, you can subscribe to the basic tier, the free tier, or the premium tier. In the past, Twitter used to allow free access to researchers. This is what I did a few years ago, in 2022, I think. I applied for a researcher's access to Twitter. I just filled in a form, an online form with my research interests, and they gave me access to the Twitter API so I could download the tweets that were interesting to me. And now this has changed. There is no longer free access for researchers since the change in ownership by Elon Musk, which is a problem, of course, for researchers because the other tiers are very expensive and I cannot afford this much for my research. But then again, there is some free level of access to the X API, but with a limited access to tweets. There are, of course, many challenges, which we will discuss also again on Tuesday, for a researcher who is looking at specific accounts, because a network like the European Union Leaders Network is always changing. There are many elections in many countries, and like I said before, not all leaders post, or they don't post as often. Some of them have an account and they don't post. So you may have many data from one leader and few data from another. I have here an image of a tweet so that you can see what is exactly a tweet. This is the account of Ursula von der Leyen. She writes text here about the Georgian status right now, the leadership, and the rights here in Georgia. And I have the URL down on the slide from the XCOM platform. This is what I am aiming at, tweets with text from the X platform. Now, the second aspect of this presentation is generative artificial intelligence, which is very popular right now since 2022. Just a few words on what is generative artificial intelligence, or artificial intelligence, we would give it a definition, is something that a technology that resembles something that is done by a human. When you cannot detect if a technology produces something that a human could have made, and you cannot tell which one is which, then you are very close to artificial intelligence. This is called the Turing test, as you might have heard. And for the past few years, we have moved on to generative artificial intelligence, which is artificial intelligence that can produce text, image, or sound that resembles very much what a human might have produced. It is a model that responds in a way that a human would have responded, using natural language. It does not use and or not Boolean operators anymore. It does not use commands. It speaks in a way that we would speak in a conversation. generative artificial intelligence models are trained on large data sets, huge data sets, huge amounts of data from the web, which we don't know, we are not really sure where it has come from. One source, as they say, is Wikipedia, which is a free online encyclopedia. It's possible that they might have scraped the web for using large amounts of data and other sources that we do not know. The output can be anything from text to image to a video, text to image, text to video, etc. An example of such a model is ChatGPT, as you might have heard, by a company called OpenAI. Their 3.5 model, which was initiated in November 2022, made a huge success. It was very innovative when it came out, and it has changed the world ever since. So I thought that I could use it in my research and change my methodology and start to play with it and see what happens. I think this technology will change the future of our profession, the future of search engines. We will no longer have to search on Google or the way we used to search in library catalogs. Everything will be using a natural language, so we will have to adapt as professionals to this. Now, what has also changed with the advent of generative artificial intelligence is the focus on language. As you know, scientists and professionals who used to teach language or work with language were not very popular, or were not considered such hard scientists like physicists or mathematicians. But now language is very important. Language is very important in order to train these large language models, in order to train these large data sets. And it has to be a correct kind of language with correct usage. The focus is mainly on the use of English language, but there are models now coming every day for other languages like Greek or Italian and so on. They just keep getting better and better. I think it can only get better from now on. But there is also this bias with data that is not coming from all languages. It means that we focus more on data that exists in the English language, because we do not use information that is hidden in languages that have not been used to train the large language models. And this will have to change and improve. There are also new tools coming in every day. And these tools provide us with faster processing for our tasks as researchers. Up to a few years ago, we used to use desktop applications, and then there came the cloud services that we could use for our research. And now we have come to generative artificial intelligence, which is more or less machines that make very good predictions in order to create new content. Like I said before, text is very important. We have to train these language datasets by using correct grammar, spelling, and syntax. This has helped me, I can say, because the network I have chosen, they are politicians, and they use correct grammar, spelling, and syntax. So it could be something that a researcher can train a data set on. If, for example, we had a network that uses the language used by teenagers, it would be more difficult to use for training a data set. Also, accents, I think, are very important for training data, because you have to have to have an array, many languages, a variety of access if you want to train data, so that you cannot just focus on one language, and this could be, it is biased. Your language model is biased. There might be idioms in the written text that is included in your data, and you might have to pay attention to the writing style, if the writing is formal or informal, and if you can use it to train a data set or not. There might be acronyms or abbreviations in your data set, which you might know what they mean or you might not know, and you have to train again your language model to distinguish them and know what they are. And finally, as librarians or information scientists, we need to learn this new technology. We need to gain these new skills and understand what it means for our profession. And we need to train so that in turn we can use it to train our users on their new skills. In order to do this, we will need AI literacy programs. We have to prepare them in our departments and spread them in public libraries, in academic libraries, in school libraries, so that everyone is able to understand what this means for the next generations, for the future of technology. And we will also have to use it in order, AI literacy, in order to distinguish between facts and fake realities that might arise with the advent of artificial intelligence. I'm talking about deep fakes that are used in social media, and they can be very complicating for our lives, our elections, and so on. Now, a few words about a special interest group. It's called IFLA, Artificial Intelligence Special Interest Group, that you might be able to follow by using this link. If you're interested in this topic, you can follow the group's activities. I am a volunteer in this group, and you can also join our mailing list. I have put the URL below if you want to subscribe to the mailing list and follow our news. Now, I will start with a few examples of what generative artificial intelligence can do for us as researchers. If we have a data set that we are working on that contains text, I'm using tweets, of course, but it could be any sort of textual data. I have used Excel file for its EU leader that I have attached to my questions to the large language models. These examples come from a subscription service called PO.com. I subscribe to it in order to conduct my research, so it is not free. I chose such a service because they let me use different kinds of large language models and not just one, because I need to be able to compare the output of different language models, not just ChatGPT, but also Gemini, Llama, and so on. For this presentation, I have used mostly Gemini 1.5 Pro, and have asked some questions by using a dataset by Antonio Costa, the president of Portugal at the time, the tweets that I chose are from the period of 2022, from February, March, and April of 2022, when the Russian invasion to Ukraine happened. So you can see some questions that I asked the large language model, so that you can see what it can do for us. The first question was, can you give me a summary of the content in the tweets that I provide for you? So I gave Gemini a set of tweets, and I asked it to summarize it for me. So very politely, Gemini said, yes, I can do that. I'm ready to analyze them and give you a comprehensive overview of their content. So let's see what it takes. This is the result that it gave me back from the tweets I provided. It says this document appears to be a collection of tweets and other social media posts by Antonio Costa, the Prime Minister of Portugal. This I did not say to the large language model, but it instantly knew who Antonio Costa is, the Prime Minister of Portugal, and it summarized immediately the set of tweets that I provided. So you can see the topics of the tweets like culture, poverty, and so on, and this happens within seconds. If we were assigned to provide a summary as humans, it would have taken us much more time and a few seconds to provide a summary of the tweets. Now, what else can it do? I then asked it to detect the languages that the tweets were posted in, because sometimes prime ministers are political figures who are part of the European Union write in different languages. Sometimes there are more than one or two official languages in some countries, like the Netherlands or Belgium. So this is natural, but also in countries like Italy or Greece, our prime ministers write also in English or French. So I ask again, Gemini, what can it do for me if it can detect the languages that the tweets were written in? And it answers back that tweets in the provided dataset are primarily in Portuguese, with a few instances of English and French. Specifically, it says that the languages detected are Portuguese, English, and French. It gives me an explanation. It says this multilingual approach is common for political leaders who engage with both domestic and international audiences. So it gives me also an explanation of where it found these different languages in the set. And then I asked it which tweet was in French, because it said it found a couple of tweets in French, and it goes on actually to give me exactly the tweets that it found written in French. If I compare this answer by Gemini to what I have in my Excel spreadsheet, I can say that there are a few differences. I don't know, however, if they are correct, because the Excel spreadsheet that I have, as it was extracted from the Twitter API, it automatically detected by the Twitter data that the tweets were written in English, Spanish, French, Portuguese, and one in Catalan. I'm not sure though if it was in Catalan. I have to check again because it really seemed like Portuguese to me. Anyway, the thing is that there are more languages in my Twitter data than in the Gemini answer. So again, maybe some things are not clear and it needs more research in more data sets to examine if it is 100% accurate in language detection. Another task that I asked Gemini to provide for me is if it can translate for me the first 10 tweets of Antonio Costa from Portuguese into Italian. So this is the translation that the language model provided for me. I will leave it to you to decide if the translation is good, if it's good Italian, if it seems accurate to you. But I think automatic translation, has been around for many years, so I'm pretty sure that it's pretty good. Moving on, I then asked it to provide me with a word cloud. I asked it to use the words in the dataset, in the text, in order to create a word cloud for me. What is a word cloud? This is the image of a word cloud on the right of the screen. I asked it to use the initial set of the tweets, and the answer was that it cannot directly, for the time being at least, provide a word cloud for me, but it can detect the languages mostly used in the dataset and give me back the most frequent words, the keywords, so that I can use them myself and create a word cloud in another subscription service or a free service. So I used it, the words that you can see here, a list. It also has the translation in English in parentheses, as you can see. I used all of these words in order to create this word cloud on the right. But I do not have the how frequent was each word. I do not know which word was the most used or not. It says that in order for most to least frequent, these words were used the most. And they are here found in the word cloud on the right. Next, I asked, can you provide the sentiment analysis for me? Because sentiment analysis is a very popular research method for tweets and for text in general. When we say sentiment analysis is when we classify its line, its tweet, against sentiment to detect if it is positive or negative or neutral. It answers back that it cannot provide a precise sentiment analysis without using external sentiment analysis libraries, which you cannot access right now. But it can give a general sentiment assessment for each tweet based on the language used. So this language model understands Portuguese, it answers back to me in English, and it detects sentiment in Portuguese. I have to check again if this answer is like it says against the traditional sentiment analysis tools, which is my next step in my research. Like you see on the screen, we have a number of tweets, and each is classified as positive, negative, or neutral. The first one is positive. It has the machine replies that it has a congratulatory tone celebrating an anniversary. So it justifies why it is positive, why it is negative, or why it is neutral. It doesn't just say it is positive. I then asked another question related to sentiment. Can you classify each tweet in the set for positive sentiment? How to do that? I asked it to use a scale from 1 to 5, where 1 is the least positive and 5 is the most positive. Again, Gemini replies that true sentiment analysis requires sophisticated tools, but it can offer me a subjective rating of positivity on a scale of 1 to 5 for each tweet based on the language used. So for the first tweet that it told me it was very positive, we have a number 5, which is very reasonable if it's celebratory. And for number 2, the second tweet, we have a 2, which it classified as neutral in the previous slide. I will go back to the previous slide. We see positive the first one, negative the second one, and here it gives it a 2, because it addresses a negative topic, but with a proactive tone, and so on, the list goes on. My next question, what can you provide me with a political analysis on the same set of tweets? This means that I'm focusing on the content right now of what Antonio Costa is writing about. I asked, can you tell me by analyzing this set of tweets if Antonio Costa supports Ukraine or Russia? And Gemini replies, analyzing the provided tweets, Antonio Costa clearly supports Ukraine and condemns Russia's invasion. Several tweets directly express this support and condemnation. He refers, it then gives me an explanation for the answer, because he refers to Russia's actions as barbaric invasion. He expresses solidarity with Ukraine and its people. He mentions Portugal's support for sanctions against Russia, and he highlights Portugal's role in welcoming Ukrainian refugees. There are no tweets in the set expressing support for Russia's actions. Therefore, based on this set of tweets, Antonio Costa's position is unequivocally in support of Ukraine and against the Russian invasion, which seems very clear. It has provided reason, as you might see, and an explanation of the answer. Now, let's see what another model is in this same question. I asked ChatGPT 4.0, the latest model, to give me an answer to the same question that Gemini did. So it says, based on the analysis of the provided tweets, Antonio Costa clearly supports Ukraine. He consistently condemns Russia's invasion of Ukraine and expresses solidarity with the Ukrainian people. Key points from the tweets include referring to Russia's invasion as a barbaric invasion. You can see that it's almost the same as the Gemini answer, and the serious violation of international law. It is strongly condemning atrocities such as the Bucha massacre. It is highlighting Portugal's role in providing humanitarian, material, and military support to Ukraine. It's emphasizing Portugal's commitment to sanctions against Russia, and it's praising the solidarity in welcoming Ukrainian refugees to Portugal. There is no indication of support for Russia in the tweets. Just like Gemini said, Antonio Costa's stance is firmly aligned with Ukraine and against Russia's actions, which is a bit longer answer, this one, comparing it to Gemini. And the third model I asked was Llama. The answer is a bit shorter, like you can see. It says, based on the analysis provided earlier, it is clear that Antonio Costa supports Ukraine and condemns Russia's invasion. There are several tweets that express his solidarity with Ukraine, his condemnation of Russia's actions, and Portugal's support for sanctions against Russia and welcoming Ukrainian refugees. There are no tweets in the set expressing support for Russia's actions. Again, the same answer like the previous two models. Therefore, Antonio Costa's position is unequivocally in support of Ukraine and against the Russian invasion. Now, another thing that GenAI can do for us, and I compared this to my Excel file and the values that I had from the Twitter app. Can you detect how many geographic locations were mentioned in the set of tweets I provided? I asked Gemini 1.5 Pro to give me the geographic locations, and it replied that it can detect at least 11 distinct geographic locations: Portugal, Ukraine, Russia, France, Europe, Sines in Portugal, Romania, Bucha, Sao Tome and Principe, Bulgaria, and United States. And it also gives me not just the titles of the places, but an explanation where it's found and where it is mentioned, each place. I tried to compare this data with my file, and I saw that there were some other places again that were also mentioned in the tweets, but were not picked up by Gemini. I think this is a small error for now. I think it will only get better. If I ask it again in a few months from now, I'm sure it will be much, much better. It's a new technology, it's evolving, but for the time being, this is the answer. I also asked the model to detect for me the persons, the people that Antonio Costa addresses in his tweets. So it searched again in a collection of tweets, and it broke down the names. It says that these individuals were mentioned, like you can see on the screen: Emmanuel Macron, Zelensky, Rumen Radev, and so on, and some groups. It also found that he mentions some groups of people in his tweets. I checked again against my Twitter file, my Twitter data from the API, and I saw that it's very similar to the data that I have. I think a few were not mentioned, but then again, I think that it will only get better from now on. What else it can do for us? It can identify the basic keywords. If we give any kind of text, not just tweets, Generative Artificial Intelligence can detect the keywords for us. It is very common. I asked it, can you show me the most prominent keywords in this set of tweets? And this time I asked the assistant by Paul, the subscription service, to give me back the keywords. And it identified the following 15 words, like you see on the screen. And again, the parentheses includes the translation in English of these words from Portuguese. I also asked it to identify for me the tone and audience that the tweets are referring to. I wanted to see if Antonio Costa or any prime minister uses a very well-educated tone, or like next door person tone, if he's very cozy and comfortable with his audience, or if he's very distant. I asked this question and ChatGPT came back with this answer. Based on the analysis of Antonio Costa tweets, it is evident that his language is tailored to an audience that is likely well-educated. Here's why, and the model goes on to tell me why it says that it is addressed to a well-educated audience. Because it is formal, the language is formal and professional. Antonio Costa employs a formal tone across various topics, including governance, cultural celebrations, and international relations. This suggests an intent to communicate with an audience that values structured and respectful discourse. And also, the language is balanced and diplomatic, because when addressing sensitive issues like the war in Ukraine or economic challenges, his tone remains composed, avoiding excessive emotionality, which aligns with communication that appeals to critical thinkers and well-informed individuals. And then goes on with specific examples in order to convince me that the vocabulary is sophisticated and specific. Then I tried to make a comparison between two different files. This one was a bit tricky for me. It was not very successful, I think. I'm not happy with the answers that it gave me, because I couldn't get the same model to answer back to me for the two different datasets. I could not upload two different files at the same time, and it was confusing. Anyway, I tried many times. The first time I asked ChatGPT, and this is the answer that it provided. I think that the answer is about one set after all. Although I asked it to compare the answers, the tweets by Emmanuel Macron and Antonio Costa, I think the answer refers only to Emmanuel Macron. I don't think it got it right. And on the right of the screen, you can see that it provided me with a summary of key differences from the first set and the second set, why the two datasets are different in their content. And then again, I tried one more time to upload the different files. And it gave me a bit better, actually. The answer was a bit better, as you can see in the next slide. I think this answer refers to Antonio Costa and Emmanuel Macron, and they were analyzed for content and tone. So the language model replies to me for the commonalities and differences for its data set regarding democratic values and freedom, like you can see on the screen, Ukraine, social justice, and so on, and on the tone, again, as you can see on the right, here on the lower part of the screen, on the tone of its set of tweets. Again, I think they can only get better, although it is a bit confusing. They don't always get it right, and they confuse the languages. This is what I detected from the few prompts that I have made in the past. Each time that I upload a file in a different language, the language model replies back to me in a language that is not English, but it's the language of the speaker of the file. So if I upload a file in Portuguese, sometimes the language model replies back to me in Portuguese, although I was asking it in English. And again, I'm pretty sure that this will be fixed in the near future. So this was my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. I hope to see you soon in person on Monday in Ravenna. And this is my contact. You can find me on LinkedIn and on X. And this is my mail from the university where I'm a PhD student.